Hi, it's Kate with the Dot Collection at Access Real Estate. I'm here with Jason Jastrzebski from CrossCountry Mortgage, and we want to talk to you a little bit about how to help buyers get offers accepted in a competitive market. You want to say hi?
Hi, you can edit this, right? Hi, Jason Jastrzebski with CrossCountry Mortgage. As a lot of you guys are aware who have been looking at homes over the last year and a half, we've had an incredibly busy season, which we are incredibly grateful for. But it's also created a lot of problems and a lot of angst for people who are buying homes. I've had clients who've put in dozens and dozens of offers and have them not accepted just because of the lack of inventory and the high demand for housing.
Yeah, the discouragement. We just want to kind of talk about the discouragement. We don't like to see that.
Yeah,
so we want.
Some people do get them accepted quickly, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there who have put in a ton of offers with haven't had much luck.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about it from an agent's perspective, and Jason's going to talk about it from a lender's perspective. Okay, so our job on this end of things is, we want to create and guide our buyers through the strongest terms possible. With that said, we do want to make sure our clients are comfortable and protected while also being strong. So we talk through a lot, it's much deeper than purchase price. Obviously, we land on what is the highest that this buyer feels comfortable and is able and wanting to pay. But it goes much further than that. Another term that comes next is your purchase and sales deposit, which is a second deposit that comes after the offer is accepted. And a trick with that is really the higher your purchase and sales deposit, the stronger you look in the sense that the sellers can see you have that money in your bank account. So I think that's an important thing for buyers to understand. If you've saved a down payment, you have it. It's in the bank. So you should really be willing to give that at P&S or a good amount of it to show how strong you are financially. And then after that, I think we get into home inspections and all of those additional contingencies. When it gets there, this is where you can get, creative and resourceful. I don't ever like to make a client feel like they need to waive a home inspection. I think it's very important that no buyer should feel like they have to. However, there are ways to shape different home inspection contingency, especially the language, to kind of tweak that you're presenting to the seller as clearly as possible. Maybe, for instance, that it's structural and mechanical only, or it's environmental and hazard only, meaning, if these buyers really just want to make sure all the utilities work and the heating system's okay, but they're not trying to beat up the sellers if the doorknob's loose, there's ways to kind of right-size your buyers' expectations, make sure that they know what's concerning to them, what's not, and then just present that as strong as possible. Sometimes you can do for informational purposes only. You just want to make sure that whatever you put on there in writing, you mean and you're comfortable with. But I could go on for days with a different language you can do involving a home inspection. But there really is, there's ways to go further where you can pretty clearly state how strong and serious you're going to be about the situation. And then I think it gets simple with closing date and all of that. Your higher your down payment, the stronger your offer looks. With that said, you can just do the best you can with the best you can do.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot to it, and we've had to kind of get creative over the last year and a half. I mean, one of the most important things that I do is when our team sends out a pre-approval for the prospective buyer, typically our client, I always follow up with a call to the listing agent, because that's important, because generally speaking they're going to call you, and if you can kind of call them first and just speak on your client's behalf without going into too much of their personal information, that's very helpful, especially for the listing agents, and because sometimes they're getting 20-25 offers and they have to go through all these offers and call everybody. So if you're kind of being proactive and calling, that generally is helpful and well received. Doesn't necessarily get the offer accepted, but it definitely gives them, it definitely makes them notice, the offer that's being submitted. Katelyn mentioned the lower down payment, sometimes are tougher to be accepted in a market like this, and that can be true. I mean, that's not to say you can't get a loan accepted with 5% down. These are all loans that are good. They're underwritten and they are approved, and they're very highly regulated, meaning like a 5% down loan program, and even an FHA loan, if there's no peeling paint or health and safety issues. Generally speaking, if you're working with a lender who knows what they're doing and is really dotting their I's and crossing their T's, these loans are going to go through just as smoothly as a loan with 20 or 25% down, even 50% down.
Yeah.
But there is a preconceived notion, and I can't say I wouldn't think differently, as if somebody was putting down, 5% as opposed to 50%,
right.
or 20%, and the offer's the same. I may consider, I would probably take the higher down payment option.
Yeah. I mean and I guess that's where I come in as the agent. It's and it is you're on a team. You have the buyer who's the client, you have their agent representing them, then you have their lender, and you are all a team. So it does become kind of like the other things I talked about, terms. If they have a lower down payment, that doesn't mean there's not other opportunity in the rest of the offer terms to kind of prove their strength. We actually just had an offer accepted where the purchase price number was actually less than one of the competing ones, and they actually had, our buyers that got accepted actually had a little bit more, I would say, of a laborious loan, let's just say that. And because of the strength of the rest of the terms, they chose us. And that's because me and the cross-country team worked very hard on that. Jason did call that list agent and talk to her. He actually called her before she called him. And she had a voicemail from him when she called me, and she told me we were in the running and kind of, gave me a little bit more insight. And she said, I got a call from Jason. I'm going to call him back right now. So these things matter. And the other thing I was thinking too is the phone call thing that you're saying, and we talk about this all the time. It seems like just such a simple common sense, but the thing about that is it's showing the seller's representation that this is a human lender that is literally can be reached on the phone.
Yeah, it's relationship.
If it's weekend, 7 p.m. on a Wednesday, and you're doing that, as a lender, that goes a long way. I'm on the seller side all the time on the seller side. And when people's lenders call me and there's 10 offers, I remember whose lenders calling me. They don't always get it, but that's huge because it registers. And when my clients, as a seller between two offers, and this person's client called me and they're really close, I will say, this lender is very dialed in. He's on it. He answers his cell phone. She answers her cell phone at night.
Yeah,
that goes a long way.
Yeah, especially with loans that have a little bit lower down payment and stuff like that may be preconceived as something that's riskier. If they're talking to two very qualified people, it's generally super helpful and kind of can relieve some of the angst that the agent could have or the seller could have. And that's another thing that you mentioned too. Sometimes I've had it. Sometimes it's tougher to get an FHA loan accepted because the peeling paint issues and that. But I've had buyers come to me where they said we can only go FHA, and you really have to take a deep dive into this stuff. They may qualify for mass housing, they might qualify for conventional, and sometimes they've been so adamant that we can only get approved for an FHA loan, and that's not always the case. So presenting them the buyers with as many options as they possibly have, regardless of what type of financing is super important for when you're putting that that offer in front of the agent and in front of the seller.
Yeah, the amount of times that buyers are misinformed, by the time they get to me, by the time I know them or meet them, especially just in the lender realm. Like I have a lot of buyers, by the time I'm working with them for even just a week, like I can hear within like the mortgage experience they've had thus far, how misinformed or misguided they've been. And I want them to feel comfortable and choose whatever lender they feel good about. But if they've not shopped around at all or gotten any more advice, and I can feel that what they're being told just doesn't sound like the person gave them enough time and energy, like it's absolutely important that they then get to someone who's going to spend the time crunching numbers, looking at other program options, and actually does that, which your company and team does.
Right.
Like, I feel like what goes a long way right now too in a competitive market for buyers, it is who's on your team. And that's not to like bump up me and the lending team, but I think about it just a little bit. But I do think about it like this. Like, we treat a $200,000 purchase price budget client the same as we do a $20 million budget client. And that is what you deserve and need. Like everyone, regardless of what their price point is, that's what they deserve, that hard of work. And that's who buyers need in their corner in a market like this, is someone who's like beyond going to give the time of day.
Yeah, I actually have, I have some, referral partners call me like, is this loan too small? And there's no loan, like, we do loans anywhere from 50,000 to
Yeah.
2 or 3 million, it doesn't,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really just, if the buyer is motivated and they can take guidance and direction and we can, and they allow us and trust us, which is an important part, right? It's trust, trust. It's the biggest decision of your life. So trusting me when you don't know me, or trusting an agent when you don't know them, it can probably be pretty tough. So you just have to remain available, be consistent. Be honest and give them as much advice, as you can possibly give them in reference to getting their offer accepted. I think that's pretty, having people who care. I think that's basically is what summarizes it, I can tell you, I legitimately, I know you legitimately care about your client's well-being.
Yeah, that's real talk. It is, though. It is. Like, if you really, like, a little TLC.
Yeah.
But, right, how do you get an offer? Like you do. You need an agent and a team that's behind you and going to get you there. And what I just thought of is when you said if you have a buyer that, like, these buyers and they're really ready and they're taking the guidance, when I picture that, it's like when a buyer, which is a person, really wants to buy a home, like there's an energy and a passion behind that. Like that is what gets us going, and it continues to motivate us. Like we want to find them a home, and we want to make sure that they then get to buy that home. So that's a thing, is when you have a really ready, passionate buyer, like you want to get them their home.
It's funny because when I run out of my house every morning, my significant other is like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you so excited to go to work?" But I enjoy it, I enjoy it,
Yeah. Most days.
Most days. Some days are tougher than others.
You can't win them all.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in. A lot of information packed into 4 or 5 minutes, and if you're still watching, we appreciate it. We're pretty passionate about what we do, and I think that is definitely evident and important, and I think it's probably what differentiates ourselves from some of the other people. So we hope to hear from you guys soon. If you have any questions, reach out, Katelyn.
Thanks for tuning in.
All right.